a whole lot of crap to go over in Formula One and MotoGP. Both world championships facing some contract chaos when it comes to racing. And then not only that, NASCAR has their own little controversy going on between JGR and Chris Gabehart. But first off, we have to talk about the MLB Players Association. Of course, that's the player union for Major League Baseball. But something serious has came out which led to Tony Clark's resignation from the Players Association. Hope y'all don't mind Jeff passing like a freaking ghost here, but Tony Clark resigning after an inappropriate relationship with his sister-in-law. Have we learned nothing from that freaking Michigan college coach? During the union's internal inquiry, which came in the wake of a wide-ranging and still open federal investigation into the MLBPA's finances and other alleged improprieties, including nepotism, the relationship between Clark and the woman came to light, sources said, and prompted him to step down after more than a dozen years as the union's leader. So not only is the players' union getting alleged for suspicious financial things, you now have the main leader at the face of it, Tony Clark, just fiddling around with his wife's sister. And considering how the league is now probably getting close to a lockout once the CBA expires real soon after this season, we could be in for an absolute mess. Not only do the Dodgers have Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto being paid tens of millions per year on long contracts, we now have Kyle Tucker, who's leading the Chicago Cubs for the LA Dodgers on a 4-year, $240 million contract. That's $60 million a year. And now, with how the Dodgers are able to spend so much, and teams aren't able to keep up, many people, including many fans, are now calling for not just luxury tax, but also a salary cap. But as you know, the players' unions don't like that because that will mean salaries go down. And with the league becoming more even, that will just mean teams can probably get a bit more lazier when it comes to actually paying players. As you know, that's one of our main arguments as well, not just against the luxury tax, but also against expanded playoffs. As you know, MLB playoffs used to be 8 teams, then they added in wild cards, which is now 10 teams, and then they expanded the wild card again so that there can now be 12 teams of playoffs, basically lowering the bar for teams to make it into the playoffs, and now we don't have to spend as much. So again, this is going to be chaos leading up to the CBA negotiations. I expect another lockout to happen. I would not be shocked. The federal investigation was triggered by a whistleblower complaint filed against Clark with the National Labor Relations Board in November 2024 that alleged self-dealing, misuse of resources, abuse of power, and nepotism. Among the issues raised in the anonymous complaint, the construction by the MLBPA of a large office in Arizona where Clark lives and where his sister-in-law worked following its opening in 2023. Again, keep it in your pants, please. Beyond the office, the Eastern District of New York's investigation concerns questions about the use of funds related to profits from One Team Partners, a multi-billion-dollar group licensing company part owned by the union, and Players Way, a youth baseball initiative that spent millions of dollars but offered only a handful of events, sources familiar with the investigation said. So now we have freaking money laundering and potential fraud as a whole at play within the union, which, again, they're supposed to represent the players, be at their best behavior when it comes to negotiating for the players, because, again, players want the best negotiations possible so that they can keep playing baseball but get paid well for it. And now you have this coming out, which is basically going to ruin the credibility of that whole organization. There's a lot more to this article. If you want to read it, I'll have it linked in the sources down below. But yeah, Tony Clark, I don't think we're going to be seeing him around baseball for a while. But now, NASCAR is back in session after a very high-profile lawsuit between Michael Jordan and Front Row Motorsports against NASCAR. We now have Joe Gibbs Racing suing their competition director, Chris Gabehart, alleging that he stole what is supposed to be confidential information relating to the team and trying to send that over to Spire Motorsports. Despite the allegations, though, Chris Gabehart is denying all of the allegations and saying that they are 100% false, and even made a post on X to talk about it. Yesterday afternoon, Joe Gibbs Racing filed a lawsuit claiming falsely that I shared JGR confidential information with Spire Motorsports and or other unnamed third parties. I feel compelled to speak out today and forcefully and emphatically deny these frivolous and retaliatory claims. I look forward to the opportunity to demonstrate to the court that I have not shared JGR's confidential information with anyone. In fact, I have already demonstrated that to JGR. A third-party forensic expert retained by JGR recently examined my laptop, cell phone, and personal Google Drive and found no evidence to support the baseless allegations in JGR's lawsuit. We even offered JGR the opportunity to do a similar review of Spire Systems. JGR refused that offer and filed the spiteful lawsuit instead. So again, serious allegations from both sides of this. I don't know how this is going to play out in court. Gabehart, though, better find some good lawyers if he doesn't want to pay $8 million in damages. Just to tell you guys the extent of what JGR is alleging, not just like private information relating to individuals, they're claiming also confidential information relating to the car setup, data, payroll, and financial information, all being put onto a Google Drive folder that's literally named Spire. Again, serious allegations. Who the heck knows what's going to happen from here. Now, I just want everyone to be aware before I start this next piece. There's going to be a lot of ranting towards the back half of this video, not just with Formula 1, but also MotoGP as well, because of recent decisions that they made that I really don't agree with. I hope you all understand where I'm coming from. I just need to rant for a bit before this video ends. Formula 1 announcing a multi-year extension with the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya to race in rotation with Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. The contract is set to last through 2032. F1 has announced a multi-year extension. Barcelona Catalunya will host the Grand Prix in 2028, 2030, and 2032, in addition to the event scheduled in 2026. From this year, the race will also be renamed as the Barcelona Catalunya Grand Prix. And this is where the ranting part comes in, because I am extremely pissed on why Spain as a whole gets to have two races despite statements made in the past from Liberty Media and Formula One themselves. We've heard it before that Formula One got rid of Imola because they didn't want two races in Italy. That would be slowing down its potential global outreach, wanting to put races in other countries, which I understand in a way. But the problem with this, the Madrid, which is, of course, the new Spanish Grand Prix held in Madrid, that's going to be hosted full-time, not on an every other year basis like Barcelona Catalunya or the Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, which is set to be hosted on odd number years. So again, on the even number years, that race will instead go to Barcelona Catalunya. And that means we're now going to be back at two races in the same country. And before people accuse me of American bias, I'm aware that the US hosts 3 races, and even as American myself, I don't agree with that. I think that at max, they should limit the US to just 2 races, especially with Miami being a complete trash heap for racing. Again, it pisses me off, too, that the Spanish Grand Prix, with all the cool tracks like Aragon or Jerez, we have the Madrid, which honestly looks like crap from a racing perspective. But now Barcelona Catalunya, which has also been like really crappy for racing, they get to have races while established tracks like Hockenheim, Jerez, Sepang, they're all off the schedule. So, F1, you need to get your freaking priorities in an order because you're really starting to piss me off now with this announcement. Spain, again, does not deserve 2 races in the same year. And also, I'm still mad that Spa-Francorchamps has already been reduced to an every other year basis as well. Like, I know the racing there isn't always the best, but it still has some cool moments. Definitely way better than Qatar or Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabia or any other crap oil funded track that's on the calendar in Miami. But again, Spa-Francorchamps, one of the most historic circuits on the calendar, one of the most fun to drive at, they have to get reduced while we have crap tracks like this holding them back. But that's my take on it. Spa-Francorchamps starting in 2027, hosting on odd number years only. Starting 2026, which is this year, Barcelona, Catalonia only hosting on even number years. But what's interesting about this is that because they're rotating races instead of making them full-time, that means in 2027, there will still be an open spot on the calendar. Because again, these races are rotating. That means 2027 onward. Someone needs to take that open spot. I know Zandvoort is getting replaced by Portugal, but even then, we still have an open spot. Does that mean we could still see a return to South Africa, Korea, Istanbul in Turkey? I still don't know. Gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. I just wish, though, that they could go back to an established track like Hockenheim or Sepang, but those two seem to be the least likely out of a bunch. But now, this is what really pisses me off here. If you haven't heard, MotoGP is getting rid of Phillip Island as the race for the Australian Grand Prix. Instead, starting in 2027, we're going to have an Adelaide street circuit. MotoGP Sports Entertainment Group, the South Australian government, and the City of Adelaide announced today that the Australian Grand Prix will be hosted on a city centre circuit in Adelaide from 2027. The 6-year agreement begins next season and will see MotoGP race at the Adelaide Street Circuit until 2032 inclusive. This landmark event will be the first MotoGP Grand Prix to be held in a city centre location with the uncompromised safety standards required in the modern era of the sport. And here's my ranting bit. Why the hell would you get rid of Phillip Island? Not saying it's the best circuit on the calendar, but they've had very good racing, at least in my opinion. Of course, MotoGP, with them being motorcycles, always on edge. They'll always put on a show, but again, they're an extremely fun circuit down there. Not just to just drive around, but also for racing. You got plenty of battles through the years. It's legit one of the most fun circuits on the calendar. And out of all things, you could have replaced it with a street circuit. And I'm not talking about a circuit like Indonesia. Like, I know they call it a street circuit, but literally nothing about that circuit constitutes a street circuit. Like, that's literally purpose-built roads they built only for MotoGP, and there's no like actual streets around it. That doesn't count as a street circuit. No matter what anyone says, I'm not counting that as a street circuit. But Adelaide, when looking at the track map, which I have up here, how the hell can you make any of this safe? I know that MotoGP says we will be taking safety into consideration when it comes to rider safety, having safer barriers and extending runoff, but again, with how they're running on actual streets this time, I don't see how you can make any of this safe. And on top of that, you can probably tell they're also altering the circuit compared to the one used by the Australian supercars. When they go into the park, the double left-hander, slight curve to the right, hairpin, finish line. But instead, we have this weird section and then the finish line before going into the hairpin and back onto the road. So, is that part of like how we're trying to make it safer, I don't know, but again, I'm extremely confused on how you can make any of this safe for the riders. I know racing has gone a long way when it comes to not just like safety for drivers, but also motorcycle riders as well when it comes to like any racing series with two wheels on them. But again, I am extremely worried about how this is going to play out when the lights actually go out for a race. Heck, we might even see injuries before lights even go out for practice, qualifying, you name it. I am very worried about what could potentially happen at this circuit unless some huge changes are made. Expect a lot of traffic around that area if someone from Australia is somehow watching this, because I'm assuming with how MotoGP bikes are a lot more on edge, they'll need to like repave and reconfigure those roads to make them a whole lot smoother. You basically gotta make them as perfectly smooth as possible. For a car, those roads might not be a problem, but for MotoGP bikes, you definitely have to do that. Another issue I have is that MotoGP as a whole doesn't seem to be caring a lot about any fan input at all, just like Formula One's kind of doing right now. Bikes' speeds have already been reduced as a result of the 1200cc to 1050cc move, and now this season the bikes are now going to be reduced to 850cc. Like, have we learned nothing from NASCAR? Just because you make the bikes a bit slower, reduce horsepower, blah, 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 it doesn't mean racing is suddenly going to become better and more even. It just takes away from the purpose of racing as a whole, don't you think? And I know some have argued that it's for safety purposes, in case tracks can't expand runoff or anything else to keep riders safer in case they go down. They need something else to protect them. But still, at some point, we got to realize that racing as a whole is already dangerous, and we have to accept that risk. I do care about rider safety, but it's not reducing speeds of bikes that's going to help. Staying the hell away from street circuits and only staying at established tracks is what's going to protect riders. So, there you go. That's my whole rant on it. I don't think I'm the only one, though, complaining, because I actually am seeing quite a bit of complaints about this as well. But yeah, there you go. Whole lot of controversy when it comes to racing contracts, both Formula 1 and MotoGP. And definitely interested to hear y'all's input about that in the comments. You feel free to talk about any of the other things we talked about, Tony Clark and then Chris Gabehart, you name it. If you want to see more news videos like this, though, please like and subscribe. It'll mean a lot to the channel. And I gotta go. I gotta just get the hell out of here and calm down. I need a drink.